Hello. Hello. second and fourth races on the calendar. Today's race will see drivers compete over 57 laps, covering a distance of just under 310 kilometers. Interestingly, during the inaugural Bahrain Gp...
Hello, and welcome to PS F1. I am your host, Darius Masahari, and we have 19 drivers on the grid today for round 10 of season 11 in Ero. This race is also a crossplay enabled race, so we will see drivers not just on PlayStation, but on various other platforms as well. As you said, total of 19 drivers on the grid today, with only one absentee. As every driver will be soon coming out for their first provisional banker laps. We'll just get our stream set up here. So, it looks to be the Williams of Jericho Balgos, who had an impressive win last night in our dedicated crossplay here, starting from last and finishing first by a clear 6 seconds or so. He will look to be the first driver today to set a time, so long as he doesn't invalidate his first lap as he comes around to turn 11 here. Overtaking zone, if you have the minerals for it. Followed behind him, it looks to be a Red Bull of Aurélien Lepenroux, dominating the standings as always. Very, very quick driver, as we will ride on board with Jericho for his first lap. And closely then switch to Aurélien. So, DRS wide open as he begins the drag race run down to turn 1 here. Very tricky braking zone, traction heavy, and is an overtaking spot during the race. Picks his line, avoids the curb on the inside, quite clean. Coming up to turn 2 here, can be a bit tricky as well on traction. Rides the curb quite nicely there. On the run down now to turn 4. DRS wide open again, braking around the 100 meter board, dropping the car into 4th gear, avoiding the inside curb, kissing the apex there, lovely. Now coming into the S, which is the bridge between Sector 1 and Sector 2. It's going to be a 29.9, which was decent enough. Flat out here, don't want to take too much curb. It's a bit heavy there on the brakes in turn 8. Coming up to the little kink that is turn 9, slow kink to the left. Coming up to turn 10, hardest braking zone on the calendar here. Very, very easy to lock up the rears. DRS wide open on the run down to turn 11. Dropping the car to 4th gear. Using as much of the track as possible to get as much traction grip. And to get back on the throttle ASAP. A bit of a blind braking zone here. You can try and guess and pick your spots, similar to turn 8. This is the yellow flag for people just around the laps. Coming up to the final turn now, braking again around the 100 meter board. You want to avoid the inside curb here, as it can usually lead you to lose the car. Bit of a traction heavy zone again here. That's very, very clean from Jericho, and that's going to be a 132.909. That will be improved upon, as Aurélien now is passing by the final lap corner, and he is going to set a 128.0, as we've seen, already improved on massively. Quite slow actually from Jericho in hindsight. Other drivers finishing now. Bob Marco in the 128 as well. And LR Mustache has put himself provisionally P2. Very good banker laps in these laps. Vince Vincenza from the crossbase here with a 129.9. Cameron Don, Mr. ERO himself, is on a flying lap as well. He's in the Ferrari today. How did he manage to snag that? And Quilpakovic puts his car in provisional P5 ahead of Vince. P6 now, as David Fernandez goes 4th. And he is immediately being seated by Frank the Tank from IRT in the Alpine with a 128.569. It looks to be the Mercedes are both starting their laps now as well. Yep. Panos, everyone's favourite Greek lad, starting his lap as Cameron's about to finish his, and Evan Kanaig finishing his as well, going provisionally P, as Adam Hurtos Libnau has set a 129.7. Next cross was Lord Percival Gustav Schubert, the host for the crossbait here, and he set a 130.0. Now, Callie, what can you do, mate? Around the final corner, no wheel spin, no loss of grip. Looks very, very clean, and that's going to be a 128.641 for provisional P6. Panos, where is Panos? There it is. Panos is gone. And invalidated. Ooh, lordy. So Harrison starting his flying lap. So just 3 drivers left to set a lap. William Carlson, who is very, very rapid in the crossbase here. Whenever he has raced, he has dominated, along with other top drivers such as Matthew Bassett, who is not with us today. So Panos is going to be going around again. Hopefully he has the fuel to do so. Unless he's just going to dive into the pits. No, he is going to start again. And we will ride on board with Panos before this flying lap. Again, coming down to the turn, to the drag race. It's for turn 1. DRS very strong on this straight here. You can get up to nearly 6/10 under the correct conditions. Now, turn 2 here, slight lift off the accelerator. Quite clean there, no loss of grip or traction. Coming down to turn 4. Defending here it's a bit of an overtaking zone here. And defending here, you have to really park the car in the middle of the corner almost. Can't really overtake on the outside. It's very hard to make the move stick unless you have subliminal racecraft and an amazing exit. As Wilkes says, good to hear my voice. Thank you very much, mate. Now coming into turn 10, as William Carlson goes provisional P1 with a 127.793. Great stuff from him. It's not going to be easy for the PlayStation lads today as they're facing some stiff competition. Coming into turn 11, quite clean there from Panos. Takes it in 5th gear instead of 4th, which is almost preference at this point for some of these drivers. Takes a bit of curb there, which cost him maybe about 100th, but that's okay. Dragging his car down to the last corner. Very clean there. And that is going to be nothing because he's just going to dive into the pits. Fair enough. So, after our first round of laps, William has gone provisional P1 and is top of the food chain for now. Are any other drivers on a lap? I think Jericho was. Jericho is finished here, well, but it looks of it, but it doesn't look to be a massive improvement. Improved by 1 second, still a bit off the pace though. Scott looks to be up as well. Other drivers, Vince probably on his in lap, yep. Quill definitely on in lap. Aurelian is going to be starting his second flying lap by the looks of it. And coming into turn 4. Very famous for Verstappen and Hamilton in 21 as Aurelian is up on his time by 1.5 tenths. A bit of a tricky braking zone here as you don't have a reference point usually to brake on. It's more so feel than anything else. No brake marshal boards there. Now, turn 10, how can you do this? No curb on the inside or outside, that's very fine. The driver in front of him is getting out of the way as Panos has retired from the session. With no laps, no qualifying time, so he will start at the back of the grid. Late down shift into 4th down the middle of the apex. In turn 11, coming up the long sweeping right-hander. In the previous games, if you touched that curb, you were dead. The car was gone into oblivion. Bit of curb there in the exit. And coming up now to the final corner. What can Aurelian Le Pen do? I hope I pronounced your name correctly, sir. A lot of corner. It takes as much of the track as possible there for the end. And that's going to be a 127.728 as he responds to William. And is marginally ahead by 600 tenths. Hundreds of a second. Sorry. Now, other drivers on the track, Frank and Nassim. Frank And Nassim is marginally up on his time by 1/10. It looks like he set a purple sector 2 apparently. Now he's 4/10 up on his time. And he is going to be, if he improves a lot in this last corner, he will be fighting for a front grid star or even the second row. Now let's see what he can do here. Plenty of curb there. On the exit, that's going to be a 127, is it? No, 128.1. That puts him provisionally P4, second row. Where is Frank? Frank is in the second DRS zone on the track. As I can hear him shouting in party. I can imagine it already. Taking turn 11 here. Just gently on the throttle. Very, very clean. Very clean. Frank recently promoted to a full-time position in IRT. Congratulations to you, as apparently he has set a purple sector too. Drivers usually like to get the overtake done after this turn, because obviously it's a DRS detection point there, and you don't want to be exposing yourself. And that's going to be a 128.198 for Frank, going provisionally P6 on his second run. All the drivers now, it seems to be the majority of them, are setting 2 runs today. Or 3 runs, sorry, I beg your pardon. I'm going to be using all their soft tyres, or maybe they do their second hot lap with the same set as their first hot lap. Just under 6 minutes to go in the session. So the drivers do have time to get back into the pit lane after this set of laps, as David Fernandez is crossing the line now, and he's just going to dive straight into the pits, is it? Yeah. Rizzo on his lap. Coming into turn 11. Again, pretty clean. It uses as much of the track as possible. Get the best exit out of the corner. Takes a lot of curb though there, unfortunately. Coming up to the last corner. Qualifying is always... You're not always struggling to say things, but you're trying your best to keep up with things. As he's dived into the pits as well. And more important, Cameron, who's going to be diving into the pits as well. Is anybody actually on a lap? Yeah, Scott is, and that is going to be the 129s for him, is it? Yeah, 129.5. Still on P16, unfortunately. So everyone's going to be waiting now as Raphael is racing back into the pits. Oh, watch the pit entry line. So today is not just a race, it's also hopefully a test for future seasons of Ero. If crossplay is smooth and without many issues, we all pray it does. It might be implemented in future seasons, we'll see. As Dan Field says hello in the chat, hello to you, sir. As it's just better to see, it's good to see competitive grids. And if that means having drivers from all tiers together, so be it. We just hope it's stable and doesn't lead to much desync or lobby errors. And most drivers will be waiting. We're usually going to come out about the 2 minute 30 mark between that. That's their window usually here. As Raphael Aston Martin runs over one of the Ferrari engineers on the pit crew. Scotty just coming back in now. As Jericho has gotten disqualified from the session for being parked in a dangerous location. Well, he's done an Adam Bradshaw here, except Adam was reversing last night in crossplay. So unlucky for Jericho, he's not just going to be able to set a lap. Maybe he's trying another last to first challenge, but it's going to be a bit more difficult tonight, I feel, than the competition he had last night. As Aurelian is already out, warming up his tyres, getting him up to the necessary temperature for his final attempt. And he's going to be the first driver on track to do so. And that looks to be... who's behind him? Bottom. Okay. As Krilpakovic has got a 5-place grid penalty for illegal blocking. Okay. Interesting. Yellow flags all over the track as drivers are slowing down, letting other drivers past. Now, as the Williams behind Aurelian is leaving to warm up his front tyres. Right, so here we go. Let's see what pace can be extracted from the Red Bull car. Makes his way down to turn 1. Important to know, this track does have concurrent DRS zones, but has 2 detection points, which is very important. So if you do get the overtake done into turn 1, or sorry, on the main straight, you will have to defend from the driver you've just overtaken, who will have DRS. Anyway, enough of me talking nonsense. Turn 4. Coming up to the tricky section here, a very technical part of the track. You want to be hitting this in full throttle to maximise the lap time. Heavy braking there, bit of curb, that's fine. This outside curb here on turn 9 on the lead up to turn 9 can actually unsettle the car. So you have to be very delicate around it as Aurelian drifts around turn 10. Fast and furious Tokyo drift style. Now run down to turn 11. Kisses the curb there. That's reasonably okay. Coming up to the long swooping right-hander of 12. Sets purple sector 2. He's 2/10 up on his time. Drag racing down against himself and his previous time to the final corner. Absolutely perfect there from him. And that is going to be a 127.482. And Botta is going to be quickly over the line afterwards. And he does not improve by the looks of it. And he's going to be P11. Now, where is William Carlson on the track? As he is invalidated by the looks of it. So he will not improve on his time, and he will stay in P2 for the moment. What can Raphael do? Raphael is marginally up in his time by 18 thousandths. Nassim is going to start on P4, second row, if no one else improves behind him. Moustache is currently 2/10 up on his time going into the final corner. As David Fernandez retires from the session. Yeah. Look, Mr. Moustache races for Analar finish. That's going to be a 127.8, and that puts him provisionally P3. So at the moment, it's an Aston Martin, second row. Now, Evan, working you're improving by 3/10 so far. Coming up to the final corner. Takes a bit of curve there on the exit and runs, almost uses as much track as humanly possible to not invalidate. And that's going to be a 128 nearly flat. That puts him provisionally P6. Cameron, I think he's not making it. No, Cameron's done. All that's left is Gustav, and Gustav has done is he's invalidated, and that is qualifying. That is our grid. So, Carlson, unfortunately for him, invalidated, but he wasn't enough on it. He wasn't down enough on his time to challenge Aurelian. Aurelian dropping 3/10 nearly on the rest of the field, just shy of 3,000 shy of it. Very good stuff from you, sir. We're just waiting for the drivers who've pitted the cars just to be finished retiring and wheeled in. So that wraps up qualifying. Just to give a clarification of our final grid. Aurelian in first, Raphael in second, William Carlson third, Moustache fourth, Nassim in fifth, Evan in sixth, Frank seventh, Vilzu eighth, David Fernandez ninth, and Cameron Don in 10th. Botamarco is in 11th, Krilpakovic is in 12th, but he has a 5-place grid penalty. Kalle Pukinen in 13th, Gustav Sherbert 14th, Vince Vincenza at 15th, Adam Hurtus 16th, Scotty Harrison 17th, Panos 18th, and Jericho Balkos 19th after being disqualified from qualifying. Pole time was a 1:27.482. Surprise, surprise, it looks to be dry in the desert. In F4 this Friday we had a 6% chance of rain, surprisingly enough. I don't know what any driver would do if it actually rained, because I don't think anyone's ever driven this track in the rain. But yeah, it doesn't look like there's going to be any showers this evening. I see they fixed the glitch as well in this game, where the pit crew used to just be standing out in a T-pose on the pit. But yeah, I'm just waiting for a few players to load in before we start the race. Hello Matthew, and welcome to the stream. As there's 5 red lights, and it's lights out and away we go. Williams seems to get a clean start there, and there's further down the back, Moustache is dropping places as William Carlton has gotten ahead. Further down the field, Frank and Wilzer are fighting through turn 1. It looks to be pretty clean for the Red Bull, as the Alpine of Carlton has now gone up to P2 ahead of Raphael and Moustache. Having a check of the tyres. This is a yellow flag in sector 1, as that is Cameron Don, who's out of the session. That's probably going to bring out the safety car, and there's a spinning Alpine behind me. And Moustache is also out of the session. And that's going to bring out only the VSC here. Nope. Now I see a full safety car deployed. For some reason my screen says VSC. So, Aurelian, the only one to start on the softs. There's a mixture of strategies here between the hard and medium compound tyres, with all the drivers behind him on the hards. As there's calls for a restart in the chat here. As the drivers are going to have to catch up to the safety car. We're just holding on still here to see if there is going to be indeed a restart. Let's talk of it in the chat. As the drivers have indeed caught up to the safety car, and there is going to be pitting here. Okay, and we're going to have a full course restart. So, action suspended, we will be going again. Just retire from the session, do not leave it. Do not leave it. Sure, that's a penalty for good cutting. Or a penalty for corner cutting, sorry. Stay in the lobby. Frank is asking everyone to use the steps. Scott Harrison, please retire from the session. As he has indeed. Won this mini little one lap shootout as was the last person to retire. Have we got every driver now back? It seems we were missing. Who were we missing? We were missing the other Mercedes. Evan Kenai wanted to rain during the race now as a punishment for the restart. Scott Harris has left the session. There's more calls for rain in the chat. No, there will be no rain, Frank. Let's go. Here friend request. Well, whoops. I just sent someone else an invite. Whoops, is it? Well, Scott, you better get in here before that other guy. As we have lost all our viewers for this race due to this restart. I think someone's after leaving. Eh? We lost the other Alfa Romeo. Calais? Eh?